In Myrtle Beach, you always go at your own pace. Lie out on the sand, lie out by the pool, go boogie boarding, go surfing, walk the boardwalk, walk the marsh walk, golf at one of 90 golf courses, mini golf at one of 50 mini golf courses, fish off a pier, fish from a chartered boat, go shopping, get drinks, eat the freshest seafood. The list is exhaustive, but the experience isn't. You can go all out or do nothing at all. How you relax is up to you. There is so much to do and explore, whether you're traveling with friends, family, or just yourself. With 60 miles of beach, you're going to find your place. If this sounds like what you need, then this is where you belong.
Trilogy Outdoors.
All right, folks, welcome back to Trilogy Outdoors Podcast, Fins, Fur, and Feathers. You know you're going to find it right here. And this week we're talking fins and boats. Fins and boats. We are finally at Freeman Boatworks here in Moncks Corner. Am I going to say that correctly?
Thriving metropolis.
The thriving metropolis of Moncks Corner. And that voice you hear is the one and only Scott Cothran from Freeman Boatworks. And we're excited to have you on here.
Glad to be here. This is cool. It's been a little bit in the making. Glad we finally sit down and get the opportunity to do it.
Yeah, man. You know, the last time we were going to try this, and I don't know if you even knew this, but I thought that we would try it at Hooked on Miracles Captains or the sponsors dinner.
Right.
And I don't think between the two of us it would have gone very well because we both were enjoying that.
That was a good time.
And a great cause. And thank you guys so much on behalf. I got permission from all the board members to tell you thank you so much. We're sponsors of it too.
Right. And that is a super duper cool tournament. I mean, if you can't get behind raising money for that cause, and you know, they took us on that tour of the hospital, and you walking through there gets you choked up as a parent for sure, but even any kind of thing. And it's so cool that Charleston's got a facility that can do something like that. And then we're so glad to be a part of it and stand behind it. Those tournaments are a lot more enjoyable when you're doing it for a better cause.
It is. And the other thing is, now I'll tell you that we enjoy it as a board, as a tournament board members. We personally continue to pull for y'all to win. Now, when y'all turn around and redonate some of the winnings, we really like that.
Right.
And, you know, I will say this much. We're on year number 4 in a row of a Freeman boat winning.
There's a rough seas kind of favor our fishing style a bit. It does help that the platform allows you to come out of the end of those jetties and you're not limited on direction you have to go. It's not one of these, it's so rough we can only run this way. No, we can go whichever way we need to go. And so it definitely helps not having to make a strategy change right there at the end or the end of the rocks. You can kind of go wherever you want to go and do what you want to do and get after them. And so
absolutely,
it's definitely helped.
And Scott, that time of the year, Billy, you, Rob, Randy, your whole crowd, the pole dancer crowd, y'all have all got them figured out. Y'all know where the fish are, and you can get there no matter what.
Well, you know what part of the problem? The part of the problem for everybody else is they've got such a network. Everybody.
Don't you say that.
Got such a network.
King fishing is not about networking.
Oh, that's BS. That's BS. They got such a net. Every Freeman owner up and down the East Coast is leaking information. Sharing information.
Y'all do your own little tournament amongst yourselves in that.
We have then a number of times kind of getting the rivalry going because, like you said, I mean, we've been very fortunate that we've done well in those tournaments, and you get the little trash talk going on, and the amount of the Randy, we love him to death, but he gets the brunt of that trash talk, and those boys Ross and everything pick on him about every little which way of taking ideas and numbers and different baits and everything else, and Randy feeds right into it and gets all spun up, and then you know how the trash talking goes.
Oh yeah, it goes crazy, and it you know, it's always fun there. That tournament is great, and once again, thank you so much. But we do want to talk about Freeman Boatworks. Sure. You know, it's amazing because I got to walk through the plant right behind y'all. Y'all had already taken off, and to look around and to think, just like in the commercial in our ad, this all started in Billy's backyard.
It did, and you know, when you're in it and live it every day, you don't pick your head up enough to look around and see what all has been accomplished. But we've got the best clients on the planet. You know, the guys take our boats and push them to the limit. And back when Steve and I were on the 31 Contender, before we even knew about this big pontoon boat we have here,
yep,
it was it really has revolutionized the industry, and it's been really, really cool to be a part of it. when I started, I remember my first day here was 9 years ago, and my first full-time day, and I was the 22nd employee, and we were trying to build a boat and a half a month, and it was just like, if we can just do this, it'll be great. If we can show more people this platform, and we were literally at that day, you're begging people to go on rides. Just, no, I'm a monohull guy, and all cats do this, and it's like, there's no commitment. Just let us show you. Let us demonstrate the product. Let us demonstrate the product, and lots of demonstration rides and lots of tournaments and lots of passing guys offshore, and it's really kind of snowballed, and it's been a cool adventure. And we went from a small garage to 150,000 square feet with a 20,000 square foot addition, and then 110,000 that we're just breaking ground on now. So we'll be twice this size this time next year.
Let me tell you a quick story. So I'm trying to remember what year it was, but it feels like it was 2009, maybe 2010. Anyway, it was a long time ago, and Billy Freeman called me, and he said he wanted me to come ride on a boat. And he had built this 33-foot. It was the 33-foot demo. It was yellow. I remember it. It was yellow. And I went and I picked up Kent Rogerson in Georgetown, and we drove to Patriots Point. And Kent and I got on this boat, and we were both trash talking the whole thing. Catamaran.
Yeah, catamaran.
There was a cat. There was a world cat that in Merle's Inlet that used to go
Dive.
that used to go in and out of. He was a diver. He used to go in and out of Marlin Quay, and he ended up dying. That boat.
I remember that.
You remember? Yeah, it was the Bubble Watcher. And I think it was in a tail sea, and that boat fished. It fishtailed the way that those boats traditionally do. And Kent and I were talking about that, especially when you put a lot of weight like dive gear in them. They tended to have that problem, and we were trash talking. We would never have a catamaran. We'll never do. And Billy just said, just what you told us. He said, just give me an opportunity to show it to you. And I got on it. I looked at it. It looks like a pretty good platform. There's a lot of room in this boat. How's it going to ride, though, right? So we got to the jetty rock. And I know everybody's heard a similar story, but it was very impactful on me the first time that I actually saw it with my own two eyes. We got to the jetties, and it was blowing nasty, 20 or 25 out the northeast, and there was a 4-foot swell coming right off of our port, like right into the port beam. And I did that thing that you normally do. You grab onto the oh shit stick, and you grit your teeth, and you bend your knees, and you hold on like hell, and the bang never came.
We call it the Freeman squat.
Yeah, the Freeman squat, right? And the bang never came, Inglis. And I looked at Kent, and he looked at me. He's like, "What is this?" And I said, "All right, well, turn it, turn into it, turn against it. Let's go with it. All right, show me a beam. Show me a dead on sea. Show me a head sea. Show me a stern sea. I mean." And we rode it, and we rode it. We rode it fast. We rode it slow. We rode it sideways. We rode it every way we could ride it, and I could not get it to do that thing that I was always very uncomfortable.
That you were worried about.
I could not get it to do it. And I said, let me drive it, because you know how to drive this boat. Let me drive it. I drove it. I couldn't get it to do it. Kent drove it. He couldn't get it to do it. I couldn't get it to bang. Even in a solid 3-4 foot northeast swell, I couldn't get it to bang. It felt like the magic carpet. And from that day on, I said to myself, that's the future of offshore center console. That is the future of offshore center console.
2009.
I'm trying to remember, Scott.
It was somewhere along there, because he started the company in 2007, and then obviously we all have similar stories of that our first trip. So it was around that time frame.
I'm embarrassed. I don't have a purse experience.
Well, you could have ridden down the river here a few minutes ago. They're on a sea trial right now. It's a little chilly outside to make a man of you. You can get down there. We definitely can do that there.
So I don't have the experience. So all I live is vicariously through all the people that I've heard nonstop. And I'm going to say I've had experience on Polar Cat and World Cat. You mentioned that World Cat. I was on that World Cat before. Yeah. I got off that World Cat. I filmed a TV show. I got off that World Cat and said I would never, ever, ever get on a catamaran again, ever. And it wasn't the fishing. Like everything I'd heard about a catamaran. Like the times that you were in active fishing was absolutely awesome with the space and everything else. But in that thing, riding and going across a wave and feeling the boat do this, and of course, I think that boat had some structural issues anyway, like aside of normal. But then I talked to everybody, and just to hear all the stories about your boat, and Like, why would Billy? What made Billy want to transform the catamaran hull? Did he have a back? And I wish Billy unfortunately had to leave to go to a meeting, but why did he want to transform a catamaran hull? Did he see that platform obviously would be a great fishing hole, and he just wanted to change the planing or whatever the way they run?
Well, and I think he would attest to that if you looked at in that time frame, if you looked at the market and you looked at what that was in the heyday of the 36 yellowfin, and you had the contenders and the yellowfins and the CVs and everything chasing for that top edge of the market, and the technology and the years of experience and everything that's going into that. And then you look at the challenges. We don't have enough room. We don't have the ride and head sea. And he saw the catamaran as just this object sitting out there that no one had really felt like they just put the time into or the engineering into, and just it's so good at this but so bad at that. Why is it so bad at it? If you get to know Billy, he's not one of these accepts anything. He questions everybody. I pick on him all the time that if Bill Gates walked in his office because he had a computer problem, he'd question Bill Gates about his computer, because that's just the nature of it. So he's always exploring, why can't it be better? What can we do? And I think like you said, some of the great parts of the cat were so good, but some of the bad stuff were so bad. And he felt, well, if you kind of combine this and you kind of look at where the market is, why not? Why can't it work? And then literally challenged the status quo and dabbled with one of these hulls and started making changes to it, and realized what his thought would work was actually working. And so he just kind of evolved, and he built the first one. And I remember asking the story. I said, when did you know you got it right? Because, he said there was a day that Billy had to have that same epiphany. And he said that the first time he got that first 33 on plane and it fell over and did exactly what he thought it would do, he said, I think I got it. And so, that's been really cool. And since then, his attitude hadn't changed. He still rides in our bestest, badassest 47 out there and is constantly tweaking it. And you're in the back going, my goodness, this is phenomenal. I know, but we could do this and this and this and this better. So he's still wired the same way. He's still not satisfied with it. And, that's a testament to what he is. It makes it a challenge to work for him at times, because he's, it's never the, can you tell me good job every so often? Or no, you can do better. I expect you to do that, sir.
Well, I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say this, and I think Stephen will agree with me, and I know you'll agree with me. The number one sought-after center console boat in the country, without a doubt, is a Freeman Boatworks.
Oh, for sure.
There's not another one. I don't care. Contender can kiss my butt. Yellowfin can kiss my butt.
For sure.
By the way, go to Mexico, you losers. But anyway, sorry, I know that was rough. But anyway.
No, it's true, though.
There is no doubt in my mind when people, you look at our friend David Thigpen. You look at people that are willing to order a boat and know that it's going to be a year to 2 years. And I know we don't want to bring that up, but the fact of the matter is, when your demand is that high for the highest of quality of boats, that's just what you got to deal with if you want the best.
Yeah, and it has been that way. And we have this, like I mentioned, the best clients and the customers in the world. And they've made this following that we sure didn't intend to happen, but it's really cool that it has. That we have this family relationship, this big brother, big sister kind of scenario of our guys are super passionate about our brand and super protective of it, and it's cool. And I attribute a fair amount of that, well, some of that too, that we're so involved with it. Billy runs his own boat, and so it's not one of these hey, I build these and I never ride it. No, we spend lots of time in the boat. And so it allows you to get better with it. But then, the other clients see that. And it's fun when you go out the Georgetown hole and it's rough one day, and you would think that 90% of all boats built were Freemans, because 9 out of the 10 boats are the only ones that are out there.
Yep.
Or you go to some of the outreaches of the Bahamas and you see the number of Freemans out there, and it's just kind of so that's been really cool to be a part of it. And it's cool as things continue to grow and we continue to evolve and still try to do better and better, that everybody's still on board with it and following along with us.
Yeah, I love following the hat you're wearing. You're representing him.
Yeah.
And he's doing a great job representing you, but Nick Stanzik, great people, great family, but he swears by his. You sold him on it.
Right. Yeah, and he was a similar story. He kind of out of and I think his dad wasn't a huge fan of all the multiple engine outboards, because they're old charter boats or little sport fishing boats that go slow, but he's been an awesome asset, and he really is. His family is awesome, Sarah and the kids, and they're cool. They truly do live that lifestyle, and they do it, and they grow up on an island and everything else, and everything dudes around the water, and he's a great sword fisherman, but they are great at everything water related. I mean,
They are.
they can drive a boat, they can catch a lobster, they can do it all. And his girls are going to be, big time in this industry as well. And so we're glad to have him. We pick on each other on the internet quite a bit, but at the end of the day, he's one of my better friends.
Scott Martin, right there
Oh,
with
yeah.
him.
Oh, yeah.
Scott Martin, another one. I mean, you're talking about a bass glitter boat boy who absolutely now eats, drinks, and sleeps.
Yeah.
Freeman.
I was picking on him about this. His 42 is going to have more electronics than anything he was ever accustomed to. I mean, we've got screens and everything everywhere. And he said, "You never looked at one of my bass boats." And the bass boat technology is
It's crazy.
wow these days. They got 12 and 20 and 16-inch screens all over everything. It's like, yeah, I guess you're right. It probably has the same number of displays, and that's good. But yeah, he's obviously very influential in the world, and the bass market versus the offshore market is obviously a lot bigger because anybody can has the ability to go catch a large amount of accessibility for sure. But it's definitely been enjoyable to work with.
English, you were saying that you haven't had a chance to ride on one yet.
I'm not.
And
I'm not.
You will not get the benefit of it riding in the inlet or in the river. So I'm glad you didn't go.
Yeah.
Honestly, because you won't get the benefit of it until you see that nasty swell coming and you've been down to do the Freeman squat. You won't get the benefit of it until you ride in nasty ocean, and then it'll change your world. It'll change the way you think about offshore fishing.
So that Meat Fish Mayhem tour, or whatever, last year, that's the King tour that's around, and they are obviously funded by another boat manufacturer. And I've seen videos where, even in their TV stuff, you see wakes in front of their boat. You see wakes in their commercials. You see wakes in front of their boats. And I know for a fact, because I have friends that fish that tour, that the boats that were in front making those wakes are Freeman.
Yeah, for sure. Well,
they should have been smart.
Right.
Never mind. They should have been smart and shot it a little different. But I mean, what's in front of them.
Right. Yeah, and that's fun. That definitely does speak volumes to it. And a sales guy can talk about the product as much, but the proof's in the pudding. And whenever you got clients backing you up, and we've always been deliberate with our marketing on that. Is there's so much more power in the word of mouth than there is the bought ad or the forced video or something else that you are pushing the product of. If we can put the right boat in the right guy's hands, then it definitely makes our lives much easier because they're validating the product.
So a lot of people don't know this, but Scott and I have known each other for a long time.
Yeah, long before Freeman.
20 years?
Wow, I guess has it been that long?
It's probably been that long, Scott.
Kuma's on the 31 contender.
Yeah.
Way back when. So they were yellowfin in the state of South Carolina.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. We used to fish together a lot. We used to dive together a lot, actually.
This is in your Citadel days when you were here, or
it was
prior to that?
It'd probably come from DeBerry.
It does, 100%.
Yeah, that's where it would come from. So it would have been Citadel days. Yeah, so it'd be 20 plus years. Hard to believe, but
we're getting old.
Well, we are getting old. You're getting old. I'm not getting
That's
old.
right.
But Scott and I, if I'm wrong about this story, please tell me. But I'm almost positive it was in your contender that we hit the great white, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, he told the story on the radio show last week.
The reason
a shark though was not a whale.
It was not. No. It was a great white.
Shark.
For
We
sure.
saw it.
Yeah,
Yep.
we saw it. The reason I brought that up is because I just told this story. And I couldn't remember. I thought it was on your contender, but I knew it was a contender, and that's why I brought it up. But I just told this story on the radio last week. They were asking, that big great white got seen off the coast of South Carolina by divers in Merle's Inlet.
Yep.
And I said, we've seen a few in the water, but we actually hit one. I think we were leaving the Vermilion. Wherever we were, I don't remember where we were, but we had just come off a plane in Scoot's 31 contender. Which, by the way, that thing had a corner on it from hell, like right in the console.
Oh yeah,
remember that corner? Dude, I still have scars on my.
We finally changed that after enough head wounds, but yeah, it was a.
Oh my God, that thing was
Beat
horrible.
your head up on it.
Yeah, it was 100% our fault because that was back in the days before everything was integrated. So I had a Furuno radar and a Garmin chart plotter and a something else and something else. So you had 3 different screens, and I had to have me a big electronics box to keep everything up there. And it looked great until you realized it was right in a walkway, and people hit their head. And so we finally did change that.
Oh man, it was horrible. But anyway, we had just gotten up on the plane. And I think Kent and I were sitting in the back looking over the motors, and I remember that, boom, boom, and that fish coming out the water, and us turning around and looking at it, and it was a giant white shark. I mean, a giant white shark.
Well, you just said that it was not a whale. Was not a whale. This was how many years ago? 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay, so that might be the last time that somebody hit a a whale in a center console.
It was not.
No, it wasn't a whale.
I promise it wasn't a whale.
No, we want to reiterate, we've never hit a right whale.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, they want to slow us down over something that might have happened 20 years ago. The last time we heard about it.
Yeah.
How many times did we all go to the Gulf Stream? And Stephen and I talked about it. We've never even.
Thousands of times.
Thank you.
And never have I even come close to hitting the right one.
No. But you were mentioning, you're talking about your customers, and we have one of your customers lined up here in a minute. I'm going to call him and get him online. Highly, highly respected in the fishing industry. If I'm not mistaken, he's won more SKA national championships than anybody else, set the record for the largest weight, largest fish. Even was so cocky about it, and I love Brant, so I can say this, but even so cocky about it, they put a video up catching kings on a pickle.
I saw that last week, yeah.
Well, last week was shrimp.
Oh, yeah.
Last week was live shrimp. He put live shrimp on a rig last week and fed it out.
Yeah.
But those guys live by that boat. That boat is their survival. Same with Nick, but that boat is what puts food on the table. And it's a testament when these guys with all these companies, and you can go to Gulf of Mexico, and I, from what I've been told, I've never been there, so I don't know, but they said the marina is like 90% Freeman now down there. Right.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely grown in a lot of attraction. I don't know if we have quite the volume there, but we sure seem to be into some of the fisheries. Seem to be well represented. So.
Venice is almost all Freeman.
Yeah, you would think that a lot of the guys said that is that
we're gonna bring Brant in.
Right. People thought we were built there because
last time I was there.
Hello.
There he is.
There he is, the one and only Capt Brant McMullen of Ocean Isle Fishing Center. How are you, buddy?
I'm fine, sir. Hope you guys are well today.
We are. We're sitting here talking to Scott about Freeman boats and just running our mouth. I guess these two have a long past, so they got some good stories to tell. But we just wanted to talk to you and talk about your Freeman experience.
Sure.
Yeah, we were trying to get a sort of a good kingfisherman online, but Randy's out there working. So
yeah, Randy's busy
instead.
Well, we must all recognize the true champion. It is definitely going to be Randy.
There we go.
For sure. Well, pick my brain. Don't make me just ramble on. What do we want to talk about?
My favorite Brant story. Obviously, Brant is a huge advocate, and we love having him around. And he comes to the boat shows, and he can flat drive a boat like anything. And it's not just a Freeman. He can drive just anything that floats. But Brant had the honor, privilege of not a charter, but an experience of bluefin tuna fishing with Brant.
Oh, God.
Oh, you did?
I did.
We don't do charters. We only do experience.
Correct. And he made it clear that we were going to be an experience and not a charter. And I quickly learned that of everything I've ever done in the ocean, that adventure, and it wasn't even that rough that day, but that tested the limit. If you wouldn't, of every piece of equipment on the boat, from the human beings down to the final swivel, was level 10.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You landed one.
Oh, yeah, he lands them all the time.
I know he does. Oh, I know it. I'm well aware.
Well,
yeah, he does.
Yeah, I will tell you. So I'll let that be an entree to the rest of the story. But yeah, so Scott's referencing an adventure. It was relatively early on in our relationship as far as getting to know those guys, and I had run the boat for a year, I think. But anyway, finally talked Scott, and Billy came, and Miles, was your son there?
Yeah, Miles
Scott?
Was there, and Joe Kennedy, and Ben.
And Billy's son. Okay,
Yep.
So yeah, it was a full Freeman adventure. I was actually going to take down the entire corporation, and in one fell. They never realized how close Freeman was to ending right there on the spot.
There we go.
But anyway, that was actually one of our fishing out of Nag's Head or Oregon Inlet.
Oh,
and I've been taking my boat up there for the last, 10 years. I've been fishing up there, and I tell folks that place, that fishery in particular, but that place truly is an experience, and that is where you go to find out your mettle as well as the the boats. And
Yeah, I
but
caught one, Brant. This is Stephen Goldfinch. How you?
Yeah, Stephen. Yeah, I know. Yep.
Hey, nice to talk to you on the phone. I
Yeah.
caught one by accident. I'm
Yeah.
trying to remember what year it was. I feel like it was definitely during the years of the yellowfin. We ran up frying pan shoals and we're chasing yellowfin, and it was real late in the year, and had heard had heard of a big school up there, and ran up and caught a bluefin by accident, and he ended up rounding out about 310 pounds.
Nice.
And
that used to happen when the guys were yellowfinning back in March and April. I would have said in the early 2000s would be my guess.
Yep. It was probably 2003, and I promised myself I'd never catch another one after that. It was such a painful experience.
Yeah, well, that'll speed up the story when you catch them. In reference to fishing out of Oregon Inlet and what you experience when you catch them in the deep water, it is a whole nother animal versus a lot of what we're doing now, which is live baiting in less than 60 feet of water, which is really cool and exciting. But obviously the fish don't have near the depth to get to, which is where the real pain is inflicted in dealing with them. But they're a great experience. Long story short, we brought Billy and Scott. Freeman is still alive and doing well thanks to returning them back, and they did capture bluefins, and the boats get tested up there for sure, especially around that inlet.
So you're live baiting in shallow water for them now?
Yeah, well, yes, sir. Yeah, the days, I won't even get it. I mean, there's a whole history, but it initially started as a ballyhoo trolling fishery and was that up until, we dabbled in it back when I started in the early 2000s, and we caught plenty, but there was no need to deal with the live bait, just because by the time you dealt with finding the bait and getting the bait, the guys that were trolling had already caught one or hooked up, or you were late to the bite because they had been biting the ballyhoo. So we just kind of abandoned it. But it seemed like in the last 5 years or so, the fish just really aren't into the ballyhoo near as much, and the live bait deal is deadly. That is it.
It seems a lot better than a 400 or 500 pound fish sounding 600 or 800 feet.
Well, it is. It's cool on the beach. You get a lot of very visual strikes. Fish airing out. We fish them on the kite too if we really want to put on a show. I mean, you can imagine. And I will say too, you talking about catching a 300 pounder. They've grown. Yeah. Again, I've been fortunate to have been I've been fishing them since the late 90s. I want to say the first time I experienced them was in like 96, fishing the SK Kingfish Championship out of Morehead City in November. First time I'd ever seen or heard, really messed with it. And they were eating us up while we were kingfishing, which in turn piqued our interest. And we went home after the tournament and turned right around and came back and started getting our butt kicked and learning ever since. But yeah, they're in there on the beach now, and but they've grown. Sorry, where I was going. They've grown. Back then they were all 75 to 85 inches. If you catch one over 90, it's great. They have progressed, and now I'd say 100-inch fish is really par for the course, honestly. I mean, that's not a big one anymore, and that is a big one.
Yeah, that's a big one. Yeah, that's a big one for sure. And what's everybody doing with 400 or 500 pounds of bluefin nowadays? Are they all getting sold?
Yeah, Stephen, the fishery it really has evolved. When I started it back in the late 90s into the early 2000s, there was no commercial fishing for bluefin at all down here. As most folks know, they're highly regulated, federally regulated. They have a quota attached to them, so a certain amount of poundage is allowed to be landed each year, and that resets every year the 1st of June. Well, the Northeast fishery, which is traditionally, the main fishery for the bluefin, is at its peak, from June until October, November. And so what had always happened through the years was that the quota would be caught up before the fish showed up in North Carolina, usually about Thanksgiving. Yeah. And so it just wasn't a thing. There was no selling them. And so to be honest, it was probably better that way. I charter fished them first out of Morehead City, and then even out of Ocean Isle here, specifically catch and release for many, many years. And I would take my 3 boats at the time in around 2000 and run them, a lot, 4, 5, 6 days a week, all 3 boats, charter fishing, catch and release, stand up fishing, mostly all stand up. And there was no rod holder fishing, at least for us. The big boats had chairs, but for us, it was all stand up. Again, asterisk, fish weren't as big then as they are now.
Yeah.
Okay. But anyway, they started opening the commercial fishery because there's more fish. The tuna, there's just way more of them than there used to be. So they added more quota. Fishing started happening down here. We found that when they opened the commercial, it hurt the recreational. The fish feel the pressure, and they just don't hang around. They're not cool sitting there and getting killed, I guess. Makes sense. But
right.
But anyway, the recreational just really has gone to the wayside, and I don't hardly know anybody that really just goes to catch them and bring home basically a cow in the back of their boat to try to take to the butcher. It's catch and release, or you're catching them to sell is generally how it's done.
Yeah, and in North Carolina, the commercial permit is similar. It gives you the ability to sell directly to a wholesaler or
dealer.
To a dealer.
Yeah, they call them dealers. Yeah. Yes, and they are set up. Morehead City's kind of the hub. But now they have guys. Carolina Beach has become popular, and then right here at the fishing center, we've done it. Holden Beach has got a True Fish House doing it.
Yeah.
But again, the main hub, Morehead City, has sort of been the focal point of it through the years.
And that's why it's an experience when somebody goes on your boat, right?
It is. I tell people, you're not bringing a cow home to put in your refrigerator. There's no point in putting 400 pounds of meat in the refrigerator.
And it's really not that good when you put it on the grill.
No, it's not even. It's not
very oily.
It's not in the same league as a yellowfin. If you want to eat one, go catch a blackfin or a yellowfin to eat. But catching them themselves is an experience. And if you really want to test yourself, tie yourself to the boat and get in a stand-up harness and test yourself. But just again, a side note, not to hijack the conversation, but there is a new school of fish that's developed that's been hanging off Hatteras the last couple years that is sort of a reset. They're all in the 65 to maybe 80-inch range.
That's great.
A massive school. And that's the school to go play with. They'll be there. They don't get messed with hardly at all. They'll be there February and March. They sit right off. Well, I can't. You never know what fish are going to do, but they have been sitting right off the Diamond Shoals Light Tower.
Yeah.
And that's fun. If you just want to go catch them, have fun, that would be the deal to do there.
Well, see, this time of year, you really need a good boat. You never know. The ocean's always unpredictable, right? But when it's 30 degrees and 4-foot swells, you're
4 foot. I didn't think that small that day.
Yeah, that's a good.
Well, I can tell you, the last time I was behind a Brant or near Brant on the ocean, it was not 4 foot, and that was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, in winter.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right. We were up there in Morehead trying to catch a king mackerel a couple weeks ago, weren't we?
Yeah, it was nasty.
Wintertime fishing can be a challenge. You got to have a boat that can do it. And what are you fishing now, Brant? You fishing a 42?
Oh, no. I've had a 37 for the last several years, and I'm excited. I actually have sold that boat, and I'm picking up my brand new 38 next week, as a matter of fact.
True story, on Wednesday.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Yep. That's who Paulin out there and testing right now, because Brant is a very nice gentleman, but made it crystal clear that he had a live well performance that he would insisted on so he can keep catch these things. And
my kids' dirty feet were all over your boat a little while ago.
Yeah, it's
right?
fine.
You know what? I've got a good friend.
Oh, that was Brant?
Well, my neighbor and college roommate actually just bought a new 28 from those guys, and he's already told me all the lewd things that he's done on my boat while I wasn't there. So I assure you, whatever you did was not as bad.
Most people have to pay a little upcharge to get the goldfinch footprints, but we're going to let you have them in just as a
Yeah, you can have them.
Yeah. We'll throw that in for free.
Brant, I do have one for you. Now that you obviously we experienced the ballyhoo fishery, and I think we were trolling 4 or 5 rods, which you said to kind of keep it small in case we got a big group come through.
Yeah, 3 or 4 was standard. Yeah, that's right. You were at the very end of that. That's right.
So when you're live baiting, how many? I mean, is this a 2 or 3 or 4 rod, or how is that working?
3, 1 on each rigger, and then 1 right in the middle. If it's especially if you're worried about trolling a ballyhoo and the fish, whether he's going to eat it or not, that is all alleviated as soon as you put a live bait in front of him.
Yeah, right.
That you resolve the issue of whether he's hungry enough to eat the dead bait. But when you put a live bait, so you just got to be around them. So it's a couple of baits that are relatively long, probably about twice as far back as we would king mackerel fish with them, and then a line right down the middle, which might be where your medium or long line would be if you were king fishing.
Well, since we've kind of flipped from talking Freeman, which we haven't flipped because we're talking about.
We're telling fish stories.
We're talking about how you're able to fish for them.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the what live bait are you using for the bluefin? Because now are you? Yeah. I know with that stupid regulation on bluefish up there, but
mullet too, right?
Well, the first thing any fisherman needs to remember is you pretty much can't help but be an outlaw.
Yeah.
So
amen.
Once you get that out of your system, then you do the best you can.
Amen.
But anyway, those menhaden that we were king fishing with last week, English, you catch those on the beach up there?
They were monsters. Yep.
Yeah. So if you want to act like a local, when they get big like that, they start migrating as soon as the sound gets below like 60 degrees, 65 degrees.
Yep.
They start migrating from the north. And when they do, they get on the beach, and we call those shad. So you don't ever want to call them menhaden or pogies, or you sound like a googan.
Yep.
All right, those are shad. So the shad are, about the size from the end of your middle finger to the middle of your forearm.
Yeah.
Usually a solid 10 to 16 inches, and that is bluefin candy. They love that. And then they also like bluefish of the same. Honestly, if you get bluefish, you want them from your elbow to the end of your finger. 3 to 8, 10 pounds even. And
wow,
that makes them very angry when you put a big old bluefish in front of them. But
wow,
but yeah, and it's simple. It really is simple fishing. And now we'll talk about the boat, because this is where it comes in. Location. That's all fishing, and all fishing is being in the right spot. But when you're as relates to fishing in the winter and fishing the tuna or fishing the mackerel tournaments like we were last week in the cold weather and the rough and all that, the chances of you pulling out the inlet and driving right to them, particularly when you are live bait fishing, in which you are really not moving, you have to land on the fish to catch them. And the chances of that are not good generally. You hope, but usually you have to move around. And mobility is what the boat getting, not only comfort and safety, but the ability to relocate in conditions that are not good, and oftentimes quite rapidly.
So what are you looking for birds initially?
It's bait. It's bait. Well, to be honest, the best thing is communication, the radio. One of the cool things about the bluefin tuna fishery is that it's something, I don't know what, it's like a fraternity or something. I don't know. It's just people that are doing it, they love to yell out that they got them on or where they got them on. It's just still cool like that. And I guess like when you're blue marlin fishing, the guys always call in their hookups and yell them out. And that's kind of the way the tuna fishing is. So the radio or your cell phone, your normally cell phone range, that's the number one tool. Wherever somebody gets a bite, whether there's a rhyme or a reason, you got to get there, because there's never a line. The school is around that area for some reason, but you're not out there with other people. It's all about the food. You're gonna find the big giant pods of gannets that are circling high and diving down. Usually they're going to be in 30 to 50 feet of water. And then the other, if you got none of that, the last thing would be to find a wreck or something that's holding bluefish and to fish in that area.
So when we used to dive a lot in the wintertime, before the SAFMC started ruining things, we used to dive a lot in the wintertime because that's really, I mean, that's
when the groupers got schooled up,
There
right?
you go.
that's your prime grouper season. We used to see them.
So you're the one that is the reason why we have all the regulations?
Here we go.
Yep.
Yeah,
Is that
well,
what you're saying?
yeah, it's me.
That's why we couldn't get him on the South Atlantic Fisheries Management Council last year.
They still got some of those old pictures of him with
Yeah.
150 grouper at his feet.
I've been asked to be on the SAFMC 3 times now. I've applied 3 times, and 3 times I've been turned down.
We've tried.
Yeah, I mean the state keeps asking me to go on, and I submit all my stuff, and the Biden administration just says, "Nah, we don't like you. You got an R behind your name."
I didn't know anybody got turned down for a government job. You're like the first I've ever heard of.
Well, if you're a Republican in a Democrat administration trying to get on any kind of a environmental type board, they're going to just say bye bye. But
you don't make it.
Anyway, I've seen them quite a few times in the wintertime here off of South Carolina.
Yeah.
Especially December, January, February. I mean, that's
right.
prime season. And I'm wondering why nobody here has ever made a business of that the way that they have in North Carolina. I don't know if they're just not as consistent because we're like the southern end of that school, or.
I'll give you. Is this a question? Would you like?
Yeah,
Sure. Yeah,
an
absolutely.
answer?
Yeah, sure.
So it is. I say the same thing about here at Ocean Isle Beach. I mean, I'm right on the border of South Carolina,
Right.
but and we have caught them here for sure. It was quite good back in the mid 2005, maybe.
Oh, it was
2010.
great then. Yep.
Yeah.
But everything's a cycle, number one, and we've been on a little bit of a downward trend locally here in my area, but on the other side of the shoals, it's been good. But back to the real meaning. There is something when you get north of Morehead City, there is just, it's not something, it's scientific. It's the way the water moves. But you can hope for it all you want down here. That is just a different world up there with the way their currents and water flows come together. That just the amount of life, whether it's bait, it's birds, it's predators, it's everything, is just overwhelming. The amount, I mean, relative to what we see down here, we get spinoffs of that activity. It originates and holds up there and then spins this way. The shad migrate to the south. A lot of times, a great many times, they come off of the end of Frying Pan and keep moving offshore. That's why they do so much commercial fishing in the winter off of the Frying Pan Tower for king mackerel commercial fishing. That's a big deal in the winter because a lot of that bait is pushing offshore. So a good bunch of that bait never crosses down. But some of those schools, I've caught them as far south as if anybody knows the spot called the 390, it's directly off Little River Inlet in about 50 feet of water. It's old king mackerel hole. That's the furthest south that I have caught them. But those schools or groups of birds and of course the shad do continue coming. There's a lot less of them, but you have to go. The other big reason is you don't have fishermen fishing for them. Without people fishing for them, it's about impossible because even then you just don't know where they are a lot of times, man. They show up in the weirdest places. It doesn't always have to be birds. It doesn't have to be any sign. They can just be places. And but I don't know. Without people looking is a big problem as well.
All right. So what's the trick to winning king mackerel tournaments?
A Freeman, of course.
I was waiting on it.
Fish have Scott Cothran on your boat. Did you know that Scott Cothran is the winningest all-around tournament fisherman in the history of all competitive fishing? His ratio of wins trumps anyone else that you can name, I promise you.
All you got to do is ask him. He'll
Well,
tell you.
Honestly, there's probably
You should see the way he just leaned back in his chair.
there's
You just made his day.
What's
Ask him
wild
how
is there's
many- how
probably
many
some
has-
truth to that, but it has nothing to do with my fishing knowledge, which is really disturbing.
No, well, I didn't. Didn't hear me say anything. I just said be sure he's on the boat. That's
Right.
all I said. But for the number of events, for the number of wins, I mean, I don't even know if he's ever not won, to be honest with you. But
Yeah, it's a bit wild. The swordfish, Nick Stanzik and I have swordfished together for 4 days, and we've caught 5 swordfish and won $400,000 and across those 4 days of fishing together. And if you handed me a sword rod and a rig and said, "Here, tie this and drop it overboard,"
You would have no.
I would say, "I'm insulted by that. Let Nick do it," kind of thing. Because literally, that guy, I just happened to be there. Yeah. And same with king mackerel.
On board the king mackerel boats, you catch them too.
Yeah, again, catch them. I just happen to make sure the bean bag doesn't fly out of the boat and that sort of thing, which is a bit frustrating because the sword tournaments and the king mackerel tournaments, and I'm a blue water guy. I love to troll ballyhoo, and that's my thing to do. And I've won more king mackerel tournaments and sword tournaments than I have doing the blue water thing, which is, whatever.
You can be good or lucky,
yeah, right? And
right? I'd rather be lucky.
Exactly.
Time to trade in the treble hooks for blue marlin lures.
Yeah, right.
Try that. See how that goes.
You gotta put what's the Omni, right? You got to put the Omni on that next Freeman.
Hey, we've done a couple of them.
Have you really put some Omni?
Have you really?
Yeah. They go down inside the console between the tunnel and go down. We got guys in the Gulf doing that, and that's definitely been a huge competitive advantage to the boats.
It's almost cheating. I mean,
I'm going to tell you, I've got live scope, and live scope is cheating. I would have killed to had live scope up in North Carolina.
And we were talking to a buddy of mine. I was talking about that the other day. I was like, we're going to go back to these tournaments where we don't have it, but it's still. I mean, people want to see the best of the best do it, so you can try to dumb it down, but it's. Yeah. It was funny. He was making the argument of, he didn't have one and said, I don't want to do that and everything else. I said, how many days a year do you get to go fishing? I don't know, 6 or 10 max. I said, okay, if you can increase your chances of catching fish on those only 6 to 10 times a day that you bust your tail for just to get that time off, are you going to do it? And he's like, if you put it that way, it's kind of a valid thing of say, hey, we only get to go diving 5 days a year. I'm going to use Steven's numbers, or are we going to go on some of my old stuff? So
right. Yeah, I mean, look, if money's no object, then why not? Right? Why not?
Exactly.
Yeah, but you just asked me though how to win the king mackerel tournament, and I actually already answered that in my previous discussion regarding tuna. Catching fish generally isn't that hard as long as you are where they are.
Yeah.
Amen.
Right.
Number one question. That's why me and Brant text all the time. Whenever I get the honor of texting with Brant, it is normally close to a tournament.
Yeah.
Where are they at? What do you see?
I know, dude. Hey, listen,
Brant, I'm going to cut you off a little bit on that, Brant, because one of the things I've noticed in fishing with some of the best guys, anglers, is it's rare that you get on the boat and there's one thing that, oh, wow, he's doing this. He's pulling a pink and blue and everybody else doing that.
Yeah.
It's normally all the little things.
Yeah.
And it's all the little tiny things that add up to that one big thing. And I bet if you looked at a Brant pad rig versus anyone else's and how they set up things and how they handle their bait and where they go to get all those little tiny details, he's going to play it down. But that's where, in my experiences, have been. And honestly, hey, it works that way in boat building too. It's not that there's any giant thing. It's all the little details that add up to that big summation.
Well, and that's right? Because you can be in the greatest bluefin spot in the world, where you got 200 million bluefin underneath your boat, but if you didn't tie that knot right, or you didn't crimp that, I guess crimping the bluefin, if you didn't crimp that crimp well, it doesn't matter how great the bluefin spot is.
Nope.
Right? I mean, you do have to do the little things right.
Yeah, the opportunity is the hardest thing to accomplish, but you certainly better make sure your execution is ready.
That's the only way luck's going to ever happen.
There you go.
That is the truth. Yeah. Hey, man, listen, I know it's Friday afternoon. Well, thank you so much for joining us and chatting with us for a little while here. And we're going to do this again with Billy at some point. Maybe we'll give you a call then, too.
Yeah.
But best of luck with that new boat. By the way, we left you a couple little surprises in there, like he said. So we put.
But hopefully, it's some numbers in the Simrad.
Hey, I can finally say that I was on Brant's boat.
There we go.
It'd be the first time I've ever been on one,
on
so that's
in
great.
the yard, but go ahead.
Yeah.
Good to hear from you, Brant.
All right, we'll see you next week.
I appreciate y'all reaching out.
All right, man.
All right, buddy. Take care, man. All right, there we go. That's a good one. And you were right about the small little things. Everybody that I've kingfished in the last 2 years with, it's always seemed like the good ones that aren't just out there using the phone to call somebody, hey, where are they at? There's always just one little intricate detail or something different that they do.
And fishing with Billy, I mean, I'm definitely along for the ride with those guys, but he's been fishing with the same group of guys for at least 10 years now. and everybody's on the same page. And it's just like hunting or anything else, is we're all on the same page, and when something happens, everybody knows their job and everybody knows their role. That makes a long way, because this guy's always the gaff man. This is the guy that you want on the rod. This is the guy that everybody. You don't have to talk. It just happens.
Yep.
And it definitely applies to fishing. And heck, even here in the boat building side, we've got almost 260 employees right now, and we got our key guys out there that just know. And it's nice having them around, and things get in and out of the door here, and it gets caught, and they say, hey, how did you know that? Because they've got the experience and the know-how, and they've seen it done so many times. And that really helps out.
It is like that in everything. I mean, it's like that in diving too, spearfishing. And Scott and I used to do a lot of spearfishing together. And there are things. I'm not the greatest spearfisherman in the world, okay, but you put me and Kent or against anybody else, and I'd say better than most, okay. And it's just because of the little things you do. The location, like Brant was saying.
Yep.
It's important, but the little things you do add up to big bags of fish. And you can be super meticulous about things, but at the end of the day, experience is what gets you. I mean, there are guys that'll start out on day one. They buy all the greatest stuff in the world. They buy themselves the Freeman. They buy themselves, the great electronics. They get everything together. But at the end of the day, experience is what puts you into the fish. Honestly,
yeah,
it's something that doesn't come naturally. It's something that you build over time.
Well, earlier real quick, we were our listeners probably are comprised. We have. Honestly, 52 states of listeners, but I would say most of them are not in South Carolina, believe it or not, when I go through.
Really?
So if somebody wants to find more out about Freeman Boatworks and to hear about the Freeman that may not be the saltwater fisherman doesn't know about them, what's the best place to go check that out?
Us out. We have a pretty good social media following on Facebook and Instagram. Obviously, we have the website. Give me a DM directly there, or info scottc at freemanboatworks.com. Any of our sales guys. We're a very hands-on company, very relationship-built company. It's you're buying a boat, but it's really you're buying into a lifestyle, in the sense of, and we'll tell you, we bust our tails out here to get these boats done, but the best reward we get is hey, look at the fish I caught in my boat, or look at the time I'm enjoying with my family, or look at the experience, and because we can all relate to that, and some of the best times I've had, Steve and I talked about earlier, is spending time with friends and family on the water, and that's all what we're doing, and that's why we enjoy it. And when you're driven that way, that we're not building a boat, we're building a relationship, we're building a time on the water, a time to get out and enjoy your leisure, because we all feel like we work so hard, and your boat is your outlet, and we take a lot of pride in that. Is I bust my tail, I've worked hard, I've gotten here. When I get in this thing, I want it to work, and I want to enjoy myself and have a good time, and be a de-stressor and really enjoy the day and be able to come back and tell the stories. So that's how we built this brand and this company, and so if you want to be a part of it, reach out. We'd love
I'll tell you, if you really want to watch some cool videos, do what I did, and I went and go to YouTube and just do Freeman boats. And if you want to go watch these boats perform catching fish, in the oceans, nasty oceans, if you want to see what they run and how they run and what they do, go there. Go check that out as well.
You get some haters. You get some haters too. I've noticed. I've been watching some of these forums, and you get some haters from. And when you go to these guys' page, you realize they're running a yellowfin or something. Right. And honestly, the biggest hater, type of a comment that I see is that the boat's expensive. The boat is expensive compared to some boats, right? Yep. But at the end of the day, honestly, you pay for what you get.
Yep.
And like Scott was saying, I mean, they're in the business of creating memories. They're also in the business of creating opportunities,
sure.
Right? Like there's opportunity cost to running a boat that doesn't work. There's an opportunity cost to running a boat that can't get you to the fishing grounds and back on a rough day.
Yep.
And you know what? A Freeman will get you there, and it'll get you back. and it'll get you back comfortably. And
Man.
the older I get, and I'm not as old as you, Inglis, thank God, second time in a
Jesus
week.
Christ.
I know.
Y'all quit? I'm getting ready to go to my birthday party. That's what I was getting ready to say. I got to go.
Happy birthday, by the way. Happy birthday.
It's not till Monday. It's not
I
till
know,
Monday.
I know. But the older you get, I tell you, once you get to 40 years old and you spend all day on the ocean, you hurt. Right.
Listen, Brant was. Me and Brant could have gone into a little bit more about the weather that we were in Saturday 3 weeks ago in Southport, but I'm just going to say that Brant turned Braden, his son, around, sent him back to the dock when he made the broke into the ocean. He called him and said, "Son, you're going to have plenty more tournaments and opportunities, but you're not fishing today."
Yeah.
It was bad. That's how bad it was.
That's experience. That's good call.
I woke up the next morning, and yes, I felt like I had been in a bar fight in Lake City back in the day.
Anybody that fishes a lot knows that feeling when you hit the sack at night after fishing, and you're like, "Holy crap! Tomorrow I am going to be in pain." Right? Like if you've been fishing in big ocean all day, and the next day you know you're going to be in pain. There's a big difference between sitting in a monohull, and I don't want to call any names, but sitting in a traditional monohull all day in 5-6 foot seas and sitting in a Freeman all day.
I agree.
The big seas will hurt everybody. It doesn't matter what boat you're in, like a really big sea. But that 30-40% difference in bang, 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 because you don't get that bang out of a Freeman. That 30-40% difference makes all the difference in the world when you're over 40 years old and you're coming home.
And that's, you mentioned that, that's kind of our core base is the 45 to 55-year-old, up in the 60. Now, granted, we have some much older clients and much younger ones, but that's kind of seems to be the case of. And one of the great things about this job is I'm not nothing against it, but our clients are not first-time boat buyers. They are educated guys coming in, and so that makes the speccing of the boat, the building of the boat, the understanding, the learning, the performance of it a lot easier because you're talking to an educated guy about it. It also, on the flip side, though, is you got to have your stuff right because
you better be ready.
They are going to push it to the limit, and if there's a flaw in it, they're going to find it. And we run them enough around here that we really want to be the first one to find it. But there's times of hey, we need to do this better, and here's why, and that sort of thing. And we love that feedback, and we thrive on it. And it like I said earlier, it pushes Billy that much harder to do it better because he is driven more so by being the best than just about, well, I would say than anything else. Is he? If anything else is better, then he's just that competitiveness of go, and so yeah, it's really cool to do that and interact with them. And I think I've had one customer that one guy in Lauderdale, super good guy. He's owned a number of monohulls before, and we pulled up. I came to delivery day for this 47 Freeman. We pulled up, and he was standing there. And he was taking pictures of us. We were pulling into the boat ramp. And I was like, "What do you think?" He says the first time he'd ever seen one in real life was delivery day of his 47.
Wow.
Smart man.
Yeah, he never came for a sea trial. He's like, "I've just heard all the hype. I want to try it." And everybody else, comes sea trials. We normally quite a bit of a courtship, shall we say, but John saw the boat, said, "Yeah, is everything in the boat would be?" And I said, "Geez, I sure hope it lives up to the hype." And we took it and ran offshore the first time. He goes, "Is everything you said is going to be in more?" So that was really cool.
That's what you're going to get from Freeman Boatworks. Y'all, go check them out online. Go find them. And Scott, thank you so much for taking the time this afternoon.
Absolutely. www.freemanboatworks.com.
That's right. Go find it out. Hey, y'all, listen, it's been a great episode. It's nice to have the Senator back a little more frequently now. We're going to get you guys some great content up. And, again, we're going to try and come back down and get Billy in on one of these two, Billy Freeman, that is. Y'all make sure you click like, subscribe, and download. Share this thing. Also, visit TrilogyOutdoorsMedia.com. Check out all of our other platforms. But for now, I'm going to hit the road. I'm going to Nights of 1,000 Candles at Brook Green Gardens for my early birthday party. But we're going to be back next week, y'all, talking fins, fur, and feathers here on Trilogy Outdoors Podcast. Freeman Boatworks and Trilogy Outdoors are proud to announce the addition of Freeman Boatworks to our family of incredible partners. Billy Freeman and his team at Freeman Boatworks epitomize the American dream. From building the first boat in Billy's backyard to a 150,000 square foot state-of-the-art manufacturing plant over the past 15 years, they are building one of the most sought-after boats in the U.S. and beyond. These incredible fishing platforms are built in South Carolina and are second to none in stability, speed, and performance overall. These catamaran designs are engineered not not only to get you to the fish fast, but comfortably too. Years of refining designs and pioneering the modern performance fishing catamaran is why Freeman Boatworks is the #1 choice for some of the biggest names in the fishing industry. If it's long runs in the Gulf or the Carolinas, or days you can go fishing in South Florida when most center consoles stay at the dock, Freeman Boatworks is at the forefront in all categories. For more information on Freeman Boatworks and their 6 available models, visit www.freemanboatworks.com. Redefine your expectations. Michelob Ultra and Myrtle Beach wholesaler Southern Crown Partners Incorporated know our consumers enjoy relaxing days on the water with Mich Ultra's crisp and refreshing taste in hand. It's important to remember to drink and boat responsibly. Choose to be or to designate a sober skipper before leaving the dock. Do it for your family and friends, your passengers, and everyone else on board. Michelob Ultra salutes all sober skippers who take the pledge. Cheers, and we'll see you on the water.
Trilogy Outdoors Podcast is a product of Trilogy Outdoors Media. All views and opinions of our hosts and guests are not necessarily those of our sponsors. Trilogy Outdoors is produced and edited by Trilogy Outdoors Media. Be sure to follow us on all the podcast platforms as well as our social media pages on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And also, don't forget our other brands, Southern English Radio Show and Walk 'Em All Outdoor Magazine. To find more information, visit TrilogyOutdoorsMedia.com. And remember, if it's anything dealing with fins, fur, and feathers, you're going to find it right here on Trilogy Outdoors.